Here you are at the 50th anniversary of NCSL. How exciting is it to be, first of all, celebrating 50 years of this organization and being here with so many of your colleagues?
It's wonderful to be hosting this in Massachusetts, right here in Boston, a small but mighty city. We have so much to offer. And so it's terrific to have NCSL here for our 50th. Very, very exciting, very special.
What are you hoping to accomplish while you're here with so many different issues that I'm hearing from across the board, from the East Coast to the West Coast? What are you hoping to get out of this conference this year?
You know, I think that this conference this year, the 50th, in the budget climate that we're in, having all these legislators, every state is represented here. We all have the same challenges. But we all have the same opportunities too. Out of challenges are born opportunities. We just have to dig in. And so what NCSL does is they have all of this robust information across every state. Not every state, we're not all first at everything. Someone else did it first and they did it right, they did it great. And let's replicate that. So that's what we learn from each other. And here at this conference, it's about building relationships, about getting to know each other. And I think that's really important. That just breaks down barriers. And so that we can really get on the same page together. We may not agree on everything, but that's how good policy is made. And if we can do that in our state here in Massachusetts, we can do that across our country. And that's why we're here today.
You know, so much has been said about the nonpartisan spirit here at this conference, but there's also some issues that I'm hearing from no matter what the state is. It's the healthcare cuts, it's the cuts to early childhood education, things like SNAP benefits. Right. Talk about your constituents. What are the things that are most challenging in your district?
So the cost of childcare is still huge, not just here in Massachusetts, but all across the country. And it's fresh on my mind because I just came from a business meeting upstairs on the cost of childcare and listening to legislators, again, from every state saying, we still can't afford childcare for our constituents, and how do we fix it? So to share that information across states, I think is just critical so we can figure it out because people need to work. We are in a 2-household income, if not more, society. But what if you're a single parent and you're a single household income? How do we support you so that you can raise a family and be able to afford to raise that family and afford childcare so you can work? I have often said that, especially for women, but for men too, that women, a lot of times, because they become the primary child care givers, they postpone their careers. And they don't pick up those careers for maybe a decade or more. And when they re-enter the workforce, they're re-entering at the level that they left, and they still have to build that. So by the time they get to retirement age, they don't have that same retirement egg that others who were able to stay in the workforce. So how do we really dig in and support our workers so everyone can stay in the workforce and work towards that day, that someday when they can retire and retire on a decent retirement?
You also do a lot of work with the Food Systems Caucus. Tell us what that is.
So we look at food insecurity and where are people not able to afford to buy food. And you mentioned the SNAP cuts. That's going to be significant. At the very beginning of our growing season here in Massachusetts, we realized some cuts to our farmers. We want to put farmers the food to table, and especially to be able to accommodate our SNAP residents who rely on that good, wholesome food. But if it affected farmer to put the seed in the ground to grow the food right at the beginning of the growing season, we can't have that. We need to support our farmers. Even here in little Massachusetts, our suburban and rural farmers mean a lot to us. And I know I'm speaking for everyone across the country. So that's what the Food System Caucus does. We identify where these deficits are, and we try to meet that need. We want to make sure that when people are going to farmers markets, they're able to afford that food. The cost of food is very expensive today, and it only seems to be going up. We're trying to find a way to reduce those costs so that everyone can have good, nutritious food available.
Early childhood education is also a huge concern across many states. And, Massachusetts does have this reputation of being such an educational mecca, but the reality still is that there are statistics saying that third graders in certain socioeconomic and ethnic populations are still at a 60% illiteracy rate. What is happening in your district, and how are you starting to look at those issues when it comes around literacy?
I do have a district that is very diverse, and so we want to make sure that all learners, whether their English is your first language, your second language, that all learners have the same opportunities to learn. And so we have created programs to make sure that that's happening at our elementary education level, all the way up through high school. We still have a lot of immigrants that are coming into our country, and we want to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities to learn. So whatever that might look like, we are doing that, not just here in Massachusetts, but we talked about that upstairs as well. We just need to be able to create these programs, and we are, to make sure that our learners feel supported.
What are you hoping to learn here that maybe there's something that you haven't really thought that you would be interested in, but, there's either a talk or a session about it? What are you looking forward to?
I missed a session yesterday on women leaders and really talked about the glass ceiling, how that really still exists across many modalities. And so how particularly for women, I was the chair of the Women's Caucus for the last 2 terms. I'm the vice chair. This session in the Senate supporting my chair. And how can we help women really exceed in the workplace, in the family unit, whatever that might look like. Actually, in government, we want to see more women in government. So, I'll give you a fun fact. In the Massachusetts state legislature, there have been over 20,000 men elected to 265 women. Yes. That's the figure. So we really want to encourage women to maybe run for elected office, but maybe come work in the government setting. We need more women's voices in that setting, and so that's what we're working on. And actually, the Mass Caucus of Women Legislators, the Women's Caucus, is also 50 years old.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yes.
Congratulations. And I'm sure Governor Healy is also working on getting some of those voices in this state as well.
As is Lieutenant Governor Driscoll.
Yes, of course. Senator Lovely, thank you so much for dropping by.
Thank you.
Thank you.